Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Mark Herbert on the line, and he's managing principal over at New Paradigms, LLC. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam.
All right, so excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to learn a little bit more about New Paradigms and how you're helping your clients. But before we do that, let's go a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in business and in your career?
Okay. Well, I spent the seminal first part of my career, Adam, as a human resources professional, working primarily with large Fortune 100-esque organizations, and did that for, almost 20 years, and then, moved into operational management, and then stepped out from that role into consulting.
That's awesome, and I think that's a great transition. So let's just dive right into New Paradigms. Tell us a little bit more about your firm, please.
Okay. New Paradigms LLC is what we do is we work with organizations that are, frankly, trying to build different kinds of relationships between their employees and themselves. That's a big thing that we believe in, is that the employment relationship always has opportunities for improvement. And what we've tried to do is take some of the things we learned, frankly, making mistakes as corporate people, and saying, okay, how do we help our clients learn from that and develop a better relationship? When I started doing this, Adam, now you hear a lot of conversations about the concept of employee engagement and things like that. Back when I started, they didn't have a name for it. I knew that there was something different that we could do in terms of how employers and employees work together, but we really didn't have a name for it. Now we do, and it's called employee engagement. And so at the most simplistic level, that's what we do, is we show employers, how to invest in a relationship and to treat their employees more like stakeholders and less like liabilities, and work with them to make that happen. We do that on kind of a regional, national, and now we're just starting to break out and doing that on a little bit of an international basis as well.
That's awesome. So I don't want to oversimplify this, and there's only so much obviously we can cover in a 15-minute podcast episode. But that being said, I know you've been doing this for a long time. Like you said, before there was the term employee engagement, you were working on employee engagement. I love that. That's the tagline right there. That being said, I know, what do you find, what are some of those common themes that you find when you see an organization that's really just hitting the mark with this whole concept of bridging that gap? What are some of those characteristics? Because in my opinion, nobody necessarily goes into this thing wanting to not have good employee engagement or not having a good relationship. It's just so there might be some people listening right now that don't know that they could use a little bit of help there.
Well, a couple key things, Adam. One of the things is employee engagement is a culture. It's not a program. So it's not something that you can just do overnight. My partner and I refer to it, and we say that it's simple, but it's not easy. And it really is kind of a systemic thing. It has to do with everything from who you hire and who you invite to join your organization to how you manage through that. Some of the key fundamentals that you have to learn to do employee engagement, number one, is that trust is earned. It's not a free pass. The fact that you are a leader of an organization doesn't mean that people necessarily trust you. You need to develop and earn their trust. The second thing is that never stops. You do that on a daily basis. The really cool thing about it that we've watched evolve over the last 10 or 12 years is now there's data out there to validate that employees who are engaged, who really feel an alignment between their personal values and the organization values, are just incredibly more productive on a day-to-day basis. They stay longer. They contribute more. So it really, really is a win-win situation, when you can create those kind of environments. But like I say, the key is you have to recognize that this is a journey. It's not a destination. You never arrive. You're going to work at this every day.
So I know, again, this will be different for every organization, but if somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, I've been really wanting to focus on this, what's that first, just that first step, whether it's a meeting, a conversation, or something? Again, no magic bullets here, but what's that first step that an organization that's looking to place a bigger focus on this should be thinking of or taking?
The first step is to build a foundation of trust, Adam. Is to sit down with people and say, okay, I recognize that you may trust me in my role as a leader and all, but how do we develop trust for each other as people? And that's a pretty, quite frankly, that can be a scary conversation to enter in.
That's scary. I'm scared having that conversation right now, Mark. I'm like, wow, that's a really bold question. I don't know if I've ever had that question with anybody in my life, not only in an organization, but in my personal life. That's a hard question.
Yeah. A book that I discovered a couple of years ago that I would recommend to any of your readers. It's probably some of the best reading that I've ever done. Is a book by Stephen M.R. Covey. And the book is called The Speed of Trust. And in that book, Dr. Covey talks about that there are three levels of trust. The first level of trust is what he'd kind of refer to as statutory. That's the trust we put in our institutions, our police officers, our judges, and things like that. The second level of trust is what he would call knowledge-based trust, is I trust my doctor, I trust my lawyer, I trust people with certifications. But the third level of trust is what he calls identity-based trust. And identity-based trust is that trust we have for each other. It's based on shared experiences. And what he talks about is really strong trust can only be accomplished when you embrace and you accept the idea that if I'm really going to be there, we're going to do identity-based trust. And the cool thing about that is over the course of my career, I've had a chance to work with people that are coming out of our elite military units. Mm-hmm. That trust is embedded, Adam, in them.
Yeah.
The whole idea if we trust each other, that we're in a foxhole together, is just implicit in that relationship. But I would go out to say that if you ask the average person in a organizational setting, do you have that kind of trust for your coworkers and your boss? I think they're probably not going to say yes.
Mm-hmm. No, I have to 100% agree with that. So let's go a little bit further into and how you work with clients and the type of clients you work with, so that at the end of this, I'm going to give you the opportunity to leave contact information for New Paradigms LLC or wherever you'd like to send that, anybody that would want more information. But I want to make sure that the right types of individuals and or organizations follow up with you. So first off, what are typically the right types of clients that are a good fit for New Paradigms LLC?
The kind of clients that are a good fit for us, Adam, are people who really do recognize and say, I want to have a different kind of a relationship with my employees, and I see my employees as a stakeholder, and I'm willing to embrace it, and I'm willing to do the work. And we have worked with organizations from as small as entrepreneurial organizations that are kind of transitioning and becoming bigger to large organizations that are just trying to do something different. So it's not so much a size or an industry, it's more of a philosophical premise of saying, I acknowledge the fact that my employees, really are stakeholders in the organization, and I'm never going to serve my customers better. I'm never going to serve my market better than I serve my employees. But that's where it starts. And that's really what we look for is, are you willing to embrace that concept, and are you willing to do the work?
What is a typical scope of your consulting look like in terms of length of time? Is it normally like you're going in there doing a series of meetings? Is this over months? Is this a year? And just to give someone a little bit of a feel of what that looks like, or does it just vary?
It varies, but the foundational work, if somebody's going to work with us, Adam, typically is they're going to be looking at a minimum of probably a 6-month to a 1-year investment.
Fantastic. It would seem like it has to be, by the way, just as you're talking about the process and everything else that you mentioned. It's like, if I'd be kind of worried if you were like, it's a 1-day seminar. It's like, that's not going to do it. I'm sorry. You just told me it takes time and it has to be embedded and you have to change anything. You're not going to do that in a day, Mark. That's awesome.
No, you're not. In fact, we'd tell people that if you're looking for a 1-day wonder, I can refer you to somebody. But we're not the right people for you, because candidly, what you're saying is, you really want to go through the motions. You're not really willing to embrace what you need to do.
Yeah, that's what I figured, and that's what I wanted to get out of you, was that it has to be that longer term process, even just for the thought process of the organization and the individuals involved on building those habits and having those conversations. That alone, that's not easy work, but I feel like when you get to the other side, it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't want to scare people either. That doesn't mean we come and live in your house and we're there forever. It is not a codependent relationship. But one of the things that I'm very proud of with New Paradigms is most of our relationship with our clients, about 90%, Adam, we have relationships that go back 10, 15 years. They're different, and we don't work with them every day. But we kind of do that initial work, and then it's a trust-based relationship where we continue, and the relationship may change to where initially we're doing implementation, and then what we're doing more recently is, you know, just tune-ups or coaching for executives and stuff like that. But we really like to work in that kind of an intimate way with our clients to say this really is a partnership. This is not a transactional relationship.
That's awesome. So, Mark, that being said, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about New Paradigms LLC or in connecting with you and your team, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
So there's a couple ways. We have a website. It's at www.newparadigmsllc.com, and one of the keys there is it is New Paradigms plural, because sometimes people miss it. They don't put that S in there. I also have a reasonably robust profile on LinkedIn, and so you can reach me through LinkedIn. And then the other thing that folks can do is they can actually, if they're interested, a couple of years ago I wrote my first book, which is called Managing Whole People. And, you know, that's just another way to find out a little bit about us and what we do and who we are.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about the great work you're doing over at New Paradigms LLC. And let's leave the name of that book one more time and the website one more time so that everybody, they may not have had time to get the pen out the first time and they're at their computer. So let's give it to them one more time. Name of the website and name of the book, please.
Okay. Name of the website is www.newparadigmsllc.com. And the name of the book is Managing Whole People.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, Mark, for coming on the show. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Mark, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Adam, for giving me the opportunity.